All right, it looks like it is time for us to get started. And I definitely want to say thank you for joining me. If in fact you are joining me live or if you are watching the replay, today what I'm going to be doing is connecting with you in such a way that I believe I'm going to share some information that you will immediately be able to put into action and it will allow you to better connect with your audience. So, if this is the first time that you're on with me, welcome. And I appreciate you being here with me live or watching the replay. And also, if in fact you have been on with me before, then you kind of know the drill. Definitely say hello in the comments. And also make sure that you have your notepad or however it is that you normally take notes, because this is the type of information that you are going to be able to immediately implement. So, if this is your first time with me and you haven't had an opportunity to get to know me, my name is Rhonda M. Jordan. And what I do is I teach individuals, primarily those that are solopreneurs, how to actually create income via a variety of streams. But we also talk in terms of, creating an audience through a great content strategy. We also talk about building your email list. We talk about digital products, how to create and sell them. And we also discuss affiliate marketing. So, if any of those are things that you are interested in, I would highly encourage you to make sure that you're here with me on a regular basis. You also want to make sure that, go back and check out some of the other information videos that I have on my channel as well, because they are likely to be helpful to you as well. So, if you are here, as I mentioned, please say hello. I'd love to know that you're here. I'd love to know where it is that you are watching from. So, today, what we're going to be doing is talking about a topic that I don't think gets talked about enough in terms of how it can actually help you with your content strategy, and also how it can help you build your audience. Because quite frankly, building an audience is the thing that you really need to get focused in on, particularly if you are brand new or if you have been, out on the internet for a while, but you really haven't focused on it, because it's going to give you or pay you lots of dividends. I'll just say it that way. And there's a variety of reasons why that is the case. So it looks like Chris is here with us. So thank you for saying hello. I'm assuming that today must be a day that you are off. I know you were able to join last week, and I hope you got some good information out of that. So, as I said, make sure you've got your notepads, and we're going to go ahead and jump right into the information. As I tell everybody each time I'm doing a training, I'm looking at my notes, not ignoring you. So, I always take time during these sessions or prior to these sessions to make sure that I write out the information that I believe is going to be most helpful to you. And so today we're going to be talking about, as I mentioned, connecting with your audience. And specifically, what we're going to be talking about is focusing in on things you can do to build the know, like, and trust factors. Now, what do I even mean by that? Well, the know, like, and trust factors are things that have to be in place in order for you to effectively build an audience that's going to stick around with you, and then also to actually get to a point where people will purchase digital products and courses and whatever it is, workshops and toolkits and whatever else it is that you might be selling. Now, let's talk quickly about how you can build these things. And then I'm going to be sharing with you a total of 10 different examples of content you can create that will allow you to really deepen that relationship with your audience. All right, so the know factor, what is that all about? People get to know you when you are showing up on a regular basis. So, for example, people know that on Wednesdays, I'm going to be sitting in this here at noon Eastern time. And what I'm going to be doing is sharing some information. They also know that the live streams are, in fact, going to be available in replay format. So if they're working during that time or they miss a session or whatever, they can always go back and they can watch those. So what that is allowing them to see is me showing up consistently. So just know that your goal is to show up with a level of consistency. Now, I'm not saying that, you have to post, 3 times a day, 4 times a day, although some people do that. Just come up with something that you can stick to, and that's going to be your way of showing up consistently, and that will help you to build that no factor. The second thing is the like factor. And people are going to connect with your personality. They're going to connect with stories that you might share. They're going to connect with how you say things. And I think this is really important because I've had people come to me and say, well, I have an accent and I'm not sure how that's going to be received. Or, I'm not the most animated person. I'm not sure if people will connect with that. Yes, they will. There's an audience out there for everyone. And what I want you to really think about is how you can turn what you perceive to be a weakness, and I don't even like to use that term, but something that could hold you back into a strength. Because I can tell you, for example, there are a couple of creators that I follow that have heavy Southern accents. Now, I live in the South, but I'm from the Midwest. So, but it's just something about it. It's their delivery. They are, it's the way they come across. So, the fact that they have a Southern accent does not bother me in the least. So, just know that that there's something that you have that people are going to like. Now, another thing is you might be an excellent storyteller, and people will watch your content or connect with your content because you're a great storyteller. They might like the way that maybe you have a very dryness about yourself. I don't know if you've ever watched a creator that's not at all animated. They speak in somewhat of a monotone voice. They are the type of person that, when they do in fact crack a joke, it's going to take you a second to get it because it's going to be delivered in a certain way. Well, guess what? There are people that connect with that as well. So you don't have to be like me. I talk with my hands, so you're going to see my hands moving all through this video. And the thing about that is there are people that connect with that. There are going to be other people that are going to be repelled by that, meaning they're not going to connect with me at all. And the same is going to apply to you. So just know that it's okay. As a matter of fact, I want you to put this into your notes. There should be people that you repel. They absolutely should. There should be people. And what do I mean by that? I'm not saying that you're offensive to them. I'm just saying that they realize that they want to learn what topic you teach, but you're not their person. And that is okay. So just, be good with that and know that the people who are meant to be in your audience are eventually going to find you. So, like I said, show your personality, show your vibe. If you like talking about music, if you like talking about whatever, incorporate that into your content. That works perfectly fine. Now, another thing is that, people are going to trust you when they feel that you are real, consistent, and you show up authentically. And that is important because I have seen too many creators try to mimic somebody else. They're trying to be somebody else. They're trying to sound like someone else. No, that is never going to work because a good person who has the ability to evaluate people, if you will, they're going to see right through that. So if you're trying to, let's say you're an introvert, but you're trying to come across with the Gary Vee style, well, that's probably not, it's not going to work. Let's just say it that way. So be you, be authentically you, and deliver your message in the way that only you can deliver your message. All right. And be good with that. Another thing is that, with us, and give me one second, I want to go back to something I wanted to say there. With that, just know that if in fact you're not being authentic, people are going to question you. Another thing I want to share with you regarding being authentic and so forth is I don't ever want you to present only your highlight reel. Okay. And here's what I mean by that. I don't know if you've ever been on, let's go to Instagram and use that. And people only present the highlights of their day. They only present the best places they've visited. They only present the best restaurants that they've eaten at. Well, you know what? That is not real life. And so now people start to question you. You know who people relate to? People that are, going to share the highs and the lows. So if you're only presenting your highlight reel, you're really not coming across as authentically as you possibly can. So if you have, and we all have, if you've experienced some failures, you've got to share that with people. Feel comfortable sharing that, particularly as it relates to your business. Now, one of the things that I like to tell people is about my very first live stream. My very first live stream took place on April 30th of this year. Now, I had all the equipment and everything I needed, but for some reason I kept coming up with excuses on why I couldn't do it. So I finally do the live stream and it was horrible. Okay. Now, here's the crazy thing, people showed up for it because I had been building an audience and so forth. But let me tell you all the stuff that went wrong. Not all of it, but a good portion of it. Number one, I was using Wi Fi and should have been, hardwired into my modem. So that was a problem. The sound was an issue. I don't know, it was just all kind of weird stuff. My computer wasn't connecting. And so everything in me said, you know what? I'm going to get through this and then I'm done with this live streaming stuff because this is crazy. There's no possible way that anybody else is ever going to show up for another one of my live streams after that fiasco. But you know what I did is after I got off, I thought through some of the things that happened. I figured out or did some research to figure out things I could do to improve it. And from that point forward, I just focused on getting a little bit better with each live stream. And so I feel like today I'm way better than I was on April 30th when I did that live stream. And it's still posted. So if you want to go back and torture yourself by watching it, by all means, go ahead and do that. But the reason why I'm sharing this story with you is I don't want you to ever think that, I don't have bad days. I don't want you to ever think that crazy stuff hasn't happened to me, that my live streams don't go bad or whatever, because they do. And that's real life. All right. So, Chris says, same here. I've been coming up with excuses, and the main excuse has been my domain was having issues. Find another way. All right. So here's the thing. You know what someone told me years ago, and I have internalized this, which is you can either make money or excuses, but you can't do them both at the same time. Now, when I was told to that, I was kind of like, oh, that makes so much sense. So here's what I want you to do. And I'm talking directly to you and anyone else that might be experiencing this. I want you to work through it. I want you to face it. I want you to be bold in it. I want you to if your domain isn't working right now, then what I want you to do is figure out another way that you can post content, post tips, post strategies, post reels that show you doing something. Do something that's going to allow you to connect, because here's what's going to happen. Once you face that fear and get through it, you're going to look back and realize the fear was bigger than, what it was that you actually went through. And that's what I finally figured out. Hitting go live was one of the biggest fears that I had. But once I did it and once I actually went through it several times, then I got more comfortable with it. And the same thing is going to happen to you regarding anything that you're working on. All right. Okay. So we talked about the know, like, and trust factors. So again, people get to know you when they see you showing up consistently. They connect with your personality, your vibe, your relatable stories, and so forth. And then they can trust you when they feel like you're being real, when you're being authentic, and so forth. So make sure that, by all means, all of those things are part of your overall strategy. And that doesn't apply to just content creation, that's in everything that you do relative to this business. So, whatever it is, make sure you're coming across real and authentic. All right, now, there's one thing that I talk a lot about, and it's about having content pillars. Well, your content pillars, so for example, for me, it's going to be digital products, content creation, email marketing, and also affiliate marketing. But there's always one additional content pillar that should be a part of your overall strategy, and that is you. That is presenting yourself. That is getting people to connect with you. And so you want to make sure that some of your content includes just sharing things about you, telling your stories and so forth. And so we're going to get more into that as we go through this training. But just remember that, because here's the thing, as you start to really share more of yourself and only share what you're comfortable with, that is always going to be my model. You only share what you're comfortable sharing about yourself. Okay. But when you are sharing, what that's doing is allowing people to come into your world and get to know you. For example, when I'm talking to a lot of people, because they have reached out to me in some capacity, I can call them by name and they probably feel like they know me. Now, if we saw each other on the street, we'd probably never, well, they would recognize me, but I might not recognize them. But the thing is, we have developed this, internet communication, this internet connection, if you will. So I want you to really think about how important that is as you go through things. Now, a big mistake that we all can make, and I know I talk my 5 E's, and if you haven't, I have several videos. I'll actually lead you to some of those. They may even be in the description. But of my 5 E's formula, when I talk about content, one is educational. Here's the thing, it is very easy to fall into the trap of only sharing educational content because that's our comfort zone. That's where we are, best, we feel more confident coming across in that fashion because we know our stuff. We've taken the time to learn what it is that we need to know. And so we can share that stuff at any point. Well, again, that is wonderful. However, the creator that also shares their personality is always going to win. And that's why, sometimes people are talking about AI and all of that. And look, I use AI every single day. I'm not afraid of AI because I know that AI is not me. I know that AI is not you. I know that that you-ness is going to be perfect. It's the thing that's going to come across that's going to make people say, hey, this person is always going to be able to make me feel good because of the way they deliver their content or the things that they say or the quotes that they share or whatever the case is. So, connect. People love that human connection. Let me give you another example. I don't know if you've ever had to call a company or let's just say a utility service, and it's taking you through this whole menu. Press one for this, press two for this. I don't know about you, but I'm the one yelling, human, or I'm the one yelling, agent, or whatever it is that they want to call themselves, because I want to talk to a real person. And, you can say, well, that's because of your age. Well, it might be. But you know what? I think people enjoy human connection. I think people, enjoy watching the way that people can interact. So don't ever lose that part of it. Allow yourself to come through, okay, is what I'm saying. All right, now, Let's talk about what personal content is and what personal content is not. Okay. So, the first thing is when I talk about personal content, I'm talking about something other than your topic. So, let's say, for example, you all have heard me talk numerous times now about what my content pillars are. But what if I shared with you that now I'm about to learn how to bake bread? So, I've been evaluating all of these different you know, Dutch ovens. And so I'm about ready to start doing that. Well, that has absolutely nothing to do with digital products or growing an email list or whatever. But you know what? There are people in my audience that will connect with that. There are people that want to hear about the journey. There are people that want to know, what type of bread I'm going to be actually making and so forth. So I'm just saying that there are things that you can share right now that there's someone in your audience that's going to be interested in that, in addition to all of the other stuff that you teach. So it's kind of like peeling back the onion. So that's what I mean by personal content. Now, what I do not mean when I talk about personal content is, for example, airing private details, drama, or anything else that's uncomfortable. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about things that, open you up in such a way that your audience gets to see another side of you other than just the business side. It's that side of you that people are like, really? I would have never imagined you were into something like that. It's good to know that. So, I love when I'm watching other creators, I love finding out the things that they're interested in because again, we can't all be we can't be business all the time. If you're trying to be business all the time, you start sounding robotic. You're not fun. And fun has to be part of everything that we do in this business. Otherwise, you're going to burn out. You've got to have alternate things that you do besides just your business. And that's one of the reasons why, I share this all the time, which is, I don't follow the hustle culture, which means, sleep when you're dead, work 24/7, miss family events. I'm not doing that. There was a time where that was my philosophy, but those years are long gone. And I'm just not interested in that. So I am interested in pursuing other things. And the thing is, people in your audience want to know about those other things you're also interested in. So, another thing I can share with you is if your goal is to create an audience of people that are interested in getting to a point where they don't have to work a solid 9 to 5, where they're not doing a 50, 60 hour work week. Well, if all you're ever presenting is a 50 to 60 hour work week and you're not showing them your hobbies or, sharing with them things that you do that have nothing to do with business, then that really doesn't sound like fun. And maybe you're not the creator in their minds. They might be thinking, well, maybe you're not the creator for them. See, I'm going to tell you, my philosophy is work hard, but play harder. My goal is to get to a point where, you know that every night when you go to sleep, you're going to get a solid 8 hours or whatever your number is in. But when you wake up in the morning, money has still come in. Why? Because you've put some things in motion that make that happen. Once you do that, guess what happens? You now buy back your time. Once you buy back your time, you can do whatever it is you want to do. And what I mean by buy back your time, I'm simply talking about the fact that your income is not tied to physical work or things you have to do. Passive income, if you want to call it that. That's the thing I like to preach over here. That's what we're working toward in this community. So I hope that that makes you understand, how I operate and helps you understand what it is that I want for you, which is to get to a point where you don't have to work constantly. You can take that vacation, you can spend time with family, you can do all of that because your content is working in the background, your digital products are working in the background, your affiliate income is coming in, your email system, your email marketing that you were doing because you've grown the list has your sales happening on autopilot. That's what I want for you. Okay. All right. So, yes, absolutely. The goal is to make sure that you shake up the content. It can't be just all only teaching educational stuff because you will bore people. Shake it up. Show some other sides of you that allow people to actually connect better with you and say, yes, this is the person that I want to learn from. All right. So now let me go ahead and get to some of the other things that I want to share. Here is where I want to go into 10 things, content ideas, personal content ideas that will help you to build the know, like, and trust factor. All right. Okay, so the first thing that you can share, the first type of content that you can share would be things like hobbies and interests. Okay. And maybe there's something you're really into. Maybe you're into working out. Maybe you're into gardening. Maybe you're into photography. Maybe it's knitting. Maybe it's, baking. I don't know what it is, but whatever your hobbies are, share that with your audience. Now, obviously you're not going to be sharing that every single day, but you're going to incorporate it into your content. So if you like to take a nature walk, on a regular basis, well, take some pictures of you out walking, show some of the scenery, show some of those types of things, because again, it allows people to see, number one, you don't work 24/7. And number two, you have some other things that you enjoy doing. If there is, and I always tell people, if you don't have a hobby, get one, because, you want to have time to enjoy certain things. And if you take the time and you grow an audience and you're making money, and then you get to a point where you freed up your time, well, what are you going to do with that? So, because working more is not what we're talking about doing. We're talking about things you can do to allow yourself to enjoy things. So definitely share some of your hobbies. Another thing would just be some of your interests. Maybe you're one of those people that loves solving puzzles, or you're interested in traveling, or you like doing memory games. I don't know what it is, but you see what I'm saying. Come up with some of those things and share those things. If it's Christmas movies, I love watching Christmas movies, and so share those types of things as well, because your audience again can relate to it, and it shows another side of you. All right. So, biking, hiking, whatever it is that you enjoy doing. All right. Now, another thing, number two, would be family time. Or if don't have children, or a spouse or significant other, then call it whatever, friends time. So maybe you take a picture of when you're out with some of your friends. Maybe you guys are at a restaurant, or you're meeting up for your weekly Saturday walk, and you pull the group together and you all take a picture. So there's lots of ways that you can do that. For family time, here's one thing I always share with people. If you have children and you're not comfortable sharing your children, don't share that. Again, this is all up to you. You share what you're comfortable sharing. For example, I have some creators that I follow who have small children, and so what they will do is they will take a picture with their child, but their child, all you see is the back of their head or something, or the child is walking ahead of them, and they're snapping a picture that way. So that would be another way for you to do it. If you and your spouse or significant other happen to be out for date night, share that. Because again, that's something else. It could be a fun restaurant that you enjoyed, or what you guys were able to get, or I don't know, you come up with ideas of things. What I would encourage you to do is maybe write down 10 things for each of these categories that you could share. So, for example, with family time, maybe you take a picture of, everybody piling into the car to get ready to go on vacation, or everyone piling into the car to go get ice cream, whatever it happens to be. The same thing applies to your hobbies and interests. 10 things. What 10 things could you take a picture of or record that you could actually share. What I'm saying to you is when we get through this list, you should never have a blank as it comes to content regarding you personally, the content pillar of you, let's say it that way. All right. Now, the other thing when it comes to family time and or personal time or friends time, whatever you're going to call it, just keep it light. Keep it comfortable, sharing those moments. And remember, we're sharing this more so for the audience that we've already built, because those are the people that are most connected to us. Now, your audience that you are looking to build, meaning people that don't yet know you, they may not connect with these things as much. But as they get to know you, they'll become more invested. I'll say that way. Another thing is pets, and I may have this somewhere else. If you have a pet, maybe you have a dog or a cat, or you happen to have an aquarium and beautiful, scenery in the aquarium. That's another thing you could share. So all of that could be incorporated into it because maybe that's your hobby. Maybe you enjoy fishing. I don't know, whatever it is, but you get the point. Sit down and think of 10 items that could go into that category and put them into your content bank. If you don't know what a content bank is, I believe I talked about that. It was either last week or the week before on the live stream. And so you can go back and watch that live stream. I'm going to, at the end of this video, I'll link a playlist with all of my live streams in there. And there's lots of content that will help you in the various aspects of growing your business. All right. Okay. Now, the next thing, number 3, adventures or travel. So let's say, for example, you like to travel. That's your thing. And your goal is to go to, 10 countries over the next 2 years or whatever it is. And you have a way of tracking that, or you're taking pictures as you're going somewhere, or you're talking about the countries you've already visited. Maybe you like doing road trips. So that could be something that you could actually write down. You could actually take pictures of yourself in the airport, before you board the plane. So all sorts of things that you can do that people will connect with. Now, here's something that I have done in the past. I probably need to do this again, which is I'll take a picture in the airport and I'll say any ideas of where I might be going based upon how I'm dressed, because I always dress for the weather of where I'm going versus the weather of where I'm leaving. So, then people that also creates that engagement underneath your post, because now people start guessing. Now they're invested. If there's a funny story that happens to you, or something funny that happens while you are getting ready to travel. You get to the airport and you realize that, you left something at home that you're going to need. So now there's going to be a mad dash when you get to your destination to try and replace it. So just think outside the box. Think of things that, somebody that you yourself would be interested in if someone shared. And then that's the kind of stuff that you can share. All right. So that's another thing. Oh, and here's one. You don't even have to leave the city that you live in. Do a walk around your city and show some of the things that maybe when people do visit your city, they always want to see. If you have some, very interesting structures in your city, go take some pictures of that. If there is, for example, something unique about your city that definitely you want to show people, then do it. I'm thinking in terms of, like, for example, when I visited, let me pick a place. Let's go San Antonio, and it's the Riverwalk. That beautiful scenery there. Or when I've been in New Orleans, and just the different things that I've done when I've been there. So just think of all those types of things, and remember, it doesn't have to be some big adventure. It can just be something in your city. All right, now a little closer to home, number 4. So let me go back and recap those. The first one was hobbies and interests. The second was family or time with friends. The third, or your pets. The other thing is adventures or travel. All right. Another thing, number 4, is your workspace. So, for example, showing people how you work or where you work can be very interesting to them because there are going to be people in your audience that think they have to have a full on office in order to accomplish things. Well, I can tell you right now, if if I were to spin this camera around and show you, I'm actually in a guest bedroom in our house, and there is a bed less than 4 feet from where I'm sitting. Right now, eh, a lot of people don't realize that because they only see this side of the camera. They don't see the other side. Why do I film here? Because this type of room has all the perfect elements. It has a bed which absorbs sound. It has carpet on the floor, and I don't need a lot of space. So if you can imagine, I'm actually working in a space that is, let's see, my desk is about 50 inches long. There's about a foot and a half between me and the wall that you see there. So it's a very small space. And a lot of times people are surprised by that. So share that. Share, a picture of your desk. It can be a picture of something that you're working on. And you can even kind of blur it out if you don't want them to see everything that you're working on. So, there's lots of ways you can do that. Another great way to do it would be that you set up your phone, put it on a tripod, let it sit behind you, let them see you working, if you will. And then the next thing could be, an hour of work and then I'm off to go play. That would be a great caption for it. Any guesses where I might be going? So, you can always incorporate something like that into it. And again, all of these things are designed to allow your audience to get to know you better, but also to increase engagement as well. Because these are the types of things that people will definitely engage with. They'll like it, they'll comment on it, they'll ask you questions, they'll want to know more. So don't miss out on sharing this type of information. Another thing, number 5. Oh, and let me say this too. It helps people visualize your world, and it again makes you feel more relatable. So, sharing your workspace is definitely another way to do it. All right, number 5, a day in your life. All right, now I'm not big on vlogging because, and this is a mental block. Um, because I don't really feel like my life is all that interesting. I've got some funny stuff that happens to me, and so maybe I should. But what's your morning coffee routine like? I have a pretty serious morning coffee routine, so I probably should record that. What do you do in the morning? Do you get up first thing in the morning and meditate? Do you get up first thing in the morning, jump right into your gym clothes and head off to the gym? What is something maybe at lunchtime you always take a walk? So that could be something. There's just all sorts of different things that you can share regarding a day in your life. It could be something like you play basketball, or it could be your time when you're just hanging out with friends, and you all, I'm sure you go through this as well, which is, where are we going to eat? I don't know why that's such a difficult question for all of us, and why we have such a difficult time coming up with an answer. My husband and I go back and forth on that all the time. You pick, I picked the last time, and so forth. So there's all sorts of things that you can share as it relates to a day in the life. You could share how you plan content. You could also, if, let's say, for example, you're into something that's really creative. So, for example, I have a friend that is really good with calligraphy. That could be something you could actually show yourself practicing your pen strokes. Or I don't know if that's the right thing for it, but you get to the idea of what it is that you would be doing and sharing with people. All right. So let's see here. You say I drive a tanker truck right now. Definitely can. Oh, you could absolutely. Because that is something that most of us would love to learn something about. It would just be fun. How do you get in and out of it? What are you doing when you hit traffic? What types of weird stuff have you seen when you've been on the road? You could, I mean, there's just so much content that you could create around that alone. So definitely start writing down in your content ideas book, which I think you were on last week's. So write that down. What type of stuff are you going to be able to share with people? All right. Okay. Now, the other thing is when you're sharing this type of content, a day in your life type of thing, it's so easy to capture because it can be a picture or it could be a 10 or 15-second video clip. Doesn't have to be anything long. Now, if you're going to tell a story, then just do it on your cell phone. You don't have to make any big production out of it. Just cell phone and get ready to upload it. All right. Okay. Now here's another one. That was number 5 was a day in a life. Number 6, your why story. See, each of us has to have a reason why we are doing a business like this or any business that you start for that matter. You have to have a why because that's what's going to drive you. That's what's going to keep you going. What's your why story? Why are you doing this? I sort of shared some of my why story earlier when I was saying, I don't want to work 24/7. That's not my goal. See, I did the whole corporate thing where I was working 60 hours a week and stressed out and, traveling 50% of the time for 10 years. I've done that. Been there, done that, don't want to do it again. But what can you share that's going to show people? So again, my why is to be able to create a life that or a business that revolves about around my life, generates the type of income that I want to generate without there ever being a cap on my income. I want to be able to spend time with my husband. I want to be able to travel. Both of us have large extended families. So we want to be able to travel and have them come to the house. I mean, for the last 4 years, we've had a huge Thanksgiving celebration here at our house, 20, 25 people each year. So, I mean, and we love doing that kind of stuff. And so, what is your why? What is it that you want to do? People will become invested in your why. And when I'm talking people, when you hear me say that, I'm talking your audience or people who are potentially going to become members of your audience. They will become invested in those types of things. All right. Now, the next thing is going to be number 7, which is your favorites. All right. So, your favorite restaurant, your favorite meal, your favorite TV program, your favorite books, your favorite anything, your favorite movies, your favorite time of the year. There's so much stuff that you can throw into this category. You should easily be able to come up with 10 ideas that fall into this category that you can use and share as content. All of this, again, is going to allow people to get to know you better. So, for example, I share a lot of books. Now, there are a lot of business books that are in my Amazon storefront. The link is going to be in the description if you're interested in that. But in addition to that, I'm an avid reader. So I also like to watch or read mysteries, thrillers, that type of thing. So you can share that. People love good recommendations. If you're a foodie and you like going out to different restaurants in various cities or your own city, then you can share, hey, here's my favorite seafood restaurant. Here's my favorite soul food restaurant. Here's my favorite Italian restaurant. Here's my favorite Mexican restaurant. We all have something that we genuinely enjoy. And you know what? People love a good recommendation. So, by all means, definitely share that because again, that's giving people an opportunity to get to know you. You're peeling back, the onion, if you will, each time you're sharing things like this. All right. Now, the next thing, number 8, I'm just looking at how we're doing on time. Number 8 is going to be, for example, wins and challenges. So when you have a win, by all means, share that. Remember earlier you heard me say, I don't want you to share only your highlight reel. Well, when I talk highlight reels, those are like the best part of your day, the best, of everything. But I do want you to share your wins. So when you get your first, 10 email subscribers, when you get your first 100 email subscribers and so forth, when you, hit a certain number of, I don't know, a certain income amount that you've been working to hit. You can share that. A certain number of subscribers on YouTube. Whatever it is, share those wins. Share that you completed a digital product that you wanted. Share that, you got your first affiliate sale. All of those things. And it doesn't have to just be first, but I'm just saying sometimes we forget about sharing those things that may seem small to us, but they're big wins for other people because people in your audience want to know, what did it take to get your first 100 email subscribers? People want to know, how did you get your first affiliate sale? How did you get approved for it? All of those things can definitely be shared. And again, people will want to know about them. The next thing that I would say is share your challenges. So, you heard me talk earlier about when I was trying to figure out when I was going to go live. And it just got to the point where I ran out of excuses. Well, one of my challenges was just a mental block. It was imposter syndrome. It was, for example, the fear of the unknown. It was all sorts of things. But the reality was, it was just stuff within my mind. And you know what? Sometimes you need to share those things because other people in your audience are experiencing the exact same thing. And so when they can see, hey, I'm not the only one that's going through this, well, you know what that does? It again makes you more relatable. And bonus points to you when you just jump right into it, face the challenge, and then get on the other side of it so that you can share not only that you did it, but how you did it with other people. And, that is golden for a lot of folks that are going to be in your audience. So make sure that you do that. And the other thing that sharing your challenges does is it's showing you being willing to be vulnerable. It's showing you being willing to be transparent. And again, all of that makes you, more authentic. All of that makes you more real. And I can't say it enough. People are going to be more invested in that. People will say, you know what? I really like this person because they share the good and the bad. So I feel like I can trust them. And again, know, like, and trust have to be in place before anyone's going to ever buy any of your products. Because if they don't know you, if they don't know you, I'm not saying they won't buy from you because that's not true. But if people don't like you or they don't feel like they can trust you, they're definitely not going to buy from you. So just keep that in mind. All right. Now, number 9 is going to be similar to what I talked about in number 4, which was your workspace, but this is going to be behind the scenes type of content. So it's your creation process. Maybe you're showing them, for example, how you brainstorm ideas. Maybe you're showing, for example, how what you have to go through in order to get things set up. So right now, I could share with you that I don't have any shoes on. It is what it is. Why? Because I don't know why. I just took my shoes off when I came up here today. But I'm just saying there's all sorts of things that you can do that increase your relatability and let people see what it is that you do. You can share with them, for example, how you prep for videos that you're going to record. And for example, Chris, you mentioned that you drive a tanker truck. You can show them that you're parked somewhere with your camera up and show that you're actually recording, or that you're about to start recording. There are just so many ways that you can do this. Another thing that you can do is show your process, the steps that you go through. And that can be a quick 15-second video of you moving from, or 3 pictures or something like that. Each one 5 seconds, you're showing, the beginning, the middle, and then the end. And then maybe something that's a stay tuned type of thing. You can show how you set up your cameras. You can show how you set up your lights. You can show your tripod. There's just lots of different things. For example, one of the things I should probably do is take a picture from this angle out to show people there's a bed that is right in front of me. So, there's just so many different ways that you can do that. So, just again, come up with 10 ideas of how you can show behind the scenes type of content as well. And then number 10 is going to be fun and just candid moments. Those times when, you're just really having fun and you just take a picture of it. And maybe the caption that you post with the picture is something like, sometimes you just have to take a break. Or, I don't know, you can come up with something fun for it. But show them, if you really enjoy just hanging out and with friends, if you want to show them, kind of what a Friday night looks like for you, if you want to show, let's say, for example, you're a person that enjoys bowling and you are ready to go and you throw your ball and I don't know, the sun gets in your eyes. I'm being facetious, obviously. The sun gets in your eyes and there's that gutter ball. Well, come on. That would be a fun thing because you've been maybe telling people how great of a bowler you are through the stories that you're sharing on your content or within your content. And then they get to see sometimes it's not always like that. So, just think of things that you can do as well. Maybe it's the people that you happen to meet. Maybe it's things that you enjoy doing. Now, another thing, because of the time of the year that we're in, is maybe, encouraging people to, for example, like a lot of people are doing angel trees right now. They're purchasing with an angel tree. You usually have a child, maybe it's a family, and they're asking for specific things that they can't purchase for themselves. And so, I'm not saying you have to show the family or anything, but maybe what you can do is just show that you're actually out and about to hopefully make somebody's holiday season a bit more pleasant. So there's just ways that you can do this. Another thing would just be candid moments. That might be a moment where you're just sitting around and maybe you should be doing something else, but you're not doing it, and you just take a picture that says waiting for the motivation to kick in. I mean, I can think of so many different ways that you can do this, and sometimes the reason why I like to share this topic periodically is because I think, number one, we don't realize that we should be sharing things about ourselves and how important they are. And secondly, we don't know what to share. We're trying to we're overthinking it because honestly, that's what it really boils down to. When you're struggling to come up with it, you're probably overthinking it, or you have not taken the time to put ideas into your content bank. Remember I mentioned in a previous live stream that you should make sure that you are writing down ideas. So when it's time for you to act on those ideas, you're ready to go. You're not trying to think of it and then act on it. Okay. All right. So let's see here. You've been doing a lot of Loom content. Yeah, I tell you, Loom is one of the fun things, I think, in terms of actually sharing things. I do a lot of Loom as well as it relates to answering people's questions. So, if someone needs something described to them or shown to them on a screen, I pop that in. So I'm glad that these 10 steps are things that you can add in because, as I said, this is going to help your audience get to know you on a deeper level. So do not skip this type of content because it's only going to help you. Now, how often should you share? Once a week, a couple of times a week. It doesn't have to be something that's shared every day because remember, you still have to factor in all of the other content you're going to be sharing. So the most important content is going to be the content that's going to connect and bring people into your audience. But once they're in your audience, you have to also make sure that you are sharing things about yourself to deepen the relationship. Another place that you can share this type of content is it can be shared in your email messages. So for example, for me, I send out a weekly email message each Tuesday morning. And in that email message, that would be a great place to share stories. Like as a matter of fact, I think I did. I know I did in this week's email. I talked about walking down the street during fall, not too long ago, as a matter of fact, and I took a picture. I took several pictures, but I took one picture and I actually shared it. And it's amazing how people connect with that kind of stuff. So you can share stories within your email messages, your weekly email message that goes out to people as well. You can share these as stories on Facebook, Instagram, and so forth. You can tell stories on TikTok if that's your thing. You can do shorts that are going to show up, for example, on. They're going to show up on YouTube. Now, here's the only thing I would say about shorts on YouTube because you don't really have that community. These types of things might not connect as well as they would, for example, when people get to know you on a specific platform. Because let's take, for example, Instagram. Instagram is a great place where you can have all of your posts and people might actually go to it. But you also have the chance to put in, for example, reels and stories. So you can put a lot of that content in there. And remember, the people that are going to connect most with your stories on Instagram are people that are going to be in your audience, whereas reels are going to go out to everyone. So as you're sharing these types of things, you're inviting people into your world. They get to see what type of content you do in fact share, and now some of them are going to elect to become a follower or subscriber depending on the platform, and others are going to say, well, that was fun to watch, but that's not my person. And remember, that's okay, because we're not for everyone. We're specifically looking to attract a person, a specific type of individual that's going to ultimately be interested in us and the content that we create and share. All right. Okay. So, now that we have gone through that, one of the other things that I want to share with you is, how to share without oversharing. So stick to the content that feels comfortable and aligned with your brand. Avoid sensitive topics, of course, and then keep the focus on connection. That's what this is all about, is just connecting with your audience. And then finally, reminding you that your audience wants to get to know you. Not they definitely want to hear about your content and that, but they also want to get to know you as well. So now what I want to do is just recap everything. So just know that that personal content is going to build the connection with them, as we've talked about before. And you are in control of what you share or what you choose not to share. And then the goal is for your audience to get to know the real you, not just the person that teaches, not just the person that is always serious. No, what other things can you share with them that bring them into your world as well? And then also be consistent. Whatever it is, you're going to be consistent with it. So just kind of get to know that. So, yes, attracting your own crowd is what you have to get through to yourself, because that's the whole thing. It is so important that you attract an audience, that you build an audience, because if you don't, then it's going to be very difficult to sell whatever it is that you're going to be selling. Because one of the only other ways that you're going to be able to do that is by running ads or whatever. And ads can be challenging, ads can be expensive. Now, if you have a team and they can do that for you, then that might be a better way to go. But I like the organic fashion of building, the organic methods of building an audience, meaning you are attracting people to you. And trust me when I say, your people are out there. You just have to put enough content out there to attract them to you. And sometimes it's just a matter of, letting them see, yes, you know your stuff and you can teach it, but there's also other sides of you that they can relate to. So for example, they might be thinking to themselves, well, this person is really into traveling, so am I. This person is not only into whatever it is that they do, but they love spending time with family, or they have twins like I do, or whatever it is. So it again is just giving people that deeper connection. Take the time to build an audience. I'm telling you, this is where most new content creators, were new solopreneurs. When I say solopreneurs, remember, I'm talking about a one person business. This is where they struggle. And they struggle because they want to jump right into the point of just building a digital product that they can sell. They want to skip over the hard part of building an audience. I promise you, if you take the time to build an audience and you take the time to nurture your audience, selling things is going to be much easier than just trying to go directly to the public and sell a bunch of stuff, because those people don't know you. You haven't nurtured them through an email list. You haven't nurtured them through content on a single platform. And that's the other thing. I really want you to focus in on one single platform. And you're going to commit to that for at least 1 year. So, for example, with me, yes, I have a Facebook page. I've had it for years. I don't really build. Every now and then I'll throw something up on Facebook, but it's not enough for me to say I'm being consistent. So that audience honestly doesn't really know me. The people on YouTube, is that's where I'm building my audience. You really have to commit to building. You have to also commit to going through the dark phase, if you will, the slow phase, the no, interaction phase. That's the phase where when you're posting things, no one is commenting, no one is responding, no one is liking, no one is sharing. That's just part of the drill. All of us have been there. All of us have started with zero followers, subscribers, or even for that matter, content. We've all been there. But you have to keep at it. You have to be willing to keep at it. And, I always say do 90 consecutive days of posting content. Now, sometime during that 90 days, people are going to expect you to show up, and you're going to start attracting your audience. It's going to take time for the platform that you're building on to even know what type of content you share, so they know who to serve it up to. Now, at the end of 90 days, are you going to have a huge audience? Absolutely not. So what do? You turn around and do it for another 90 days. Now, that's a half a year worth of content at that point. Do you stop after that? No, you don't. You keep posting content. And some of this content can be reused and or repurposed. So that is an important aspect of things. Even this content about yourself, you can share some of this now, and then a month from now or 2 months from now, share it again. Maybe change up the caption, or, change, maybe because you took several pictures, for example, show a different picture, but maybe everything happened on that same day. So it was, maybe you took 5 pictures when you were out at dinner. One picture got shown in June. Now you're going to show another picture from those 5 that were taken again now, and you're sharing it. So just know that. So let's see here. All of that is going to be important. So let's see. So since you found the channel as driving my truck, that's good to know. Let's see. You've watched every last one. Wow. Thank you so much. That is definitely something that I appreciate. And I'm hoping that this information is helping you. Each video is designed to give you something else that's going to actually help you grow your business. So again, it's important for us to build an audience. It's important for us to get that audience off of social media at some point and onto our email list. The way we do that is by, creating a lead magnet. And I have some business tools below. So if you're interested in getting some things that will help you, they're free of charge to you, but I have a one that's going to teach you how to build a lead magnet or create a lead magnet, how to create a digital product, and I think I also have one link below that's going to give you some AI prompts or something like that. But my whole thing is you have to then move people off of off of social media and onto your email list. And that's where you really get to nurture people. That's where, you're going to have them connecting with you. So I hope, Chris, that has definitely helped you a lot. Now, one other thing that I want you to do is this. Over these next 10 days, and here's when I'm talking 10 days, I'm talking now through, next week, Friday, depending on when you're watching this. Pick a 10-day window of time. And sometime during that 10-day window of time, I want you to post two personal pieces of content using some of the items that I've talked about here. Now, on those other days, I want you to post other type of content, educational content, behind the scenes, something along those lines, something tips, strategies, whatever it is. So throw in educational and also throw in some personal content. And what that's going to do is allow people to see a variety of pieces of content, and it's going to allow those individuals to start getting to know you and the type of content that you create, the type of, how it is that you might be able to help them. And that's how people are going to start following you. That's how people are going to start subscribing. And then eventually, you're going to create a lead magnet. And that lead magnet is how you're going to move them onto your email list. All right. So I just wanted to make sure that we went through all of this. Remember, that's your assignment. 2 pieces of personal content over the next 10 days is what I want you to create. All right. Now, the last thing I always like to do is when I do a live stream like this, I always like to end it with some mindset training. And when I talk mindset, oftentimes we think we only need to know the stuff relative to our, whatever it is that we teach. But you need to know more than that, because oftentimes it's going to be, you know, the things you don't take the time to train yourself on that are going to hold you back. And I want to address something. I was going to do something totally different, but based upon what Chris shared with me earlier, I want to talk about limiting beliefs. And I also want to talk about what I always like to say is that negative voice that's talking to you all throughout the day. And I wanted to kind of give you some strategies on how to address that. So, for example, our limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs are nothing more than things that keep us in the same place. We feel as though something is going to happen. Let me use myself as an example. So, one of the reasons why, after I thought this through, that I didn't want to do live streams was I was concerned about trolls jumping on and making crazy comments or whatever. But I was also not sure that I would be able to comfortably get my message across in a live forum. Okay, so I got these two things going on in my head. That's how limiting beliefs work for most of us. We start, putting these limitations on ourselves, and oftentimes they're not even based in fact. Let me tell you about why I say they're not even based in fact. Could a troll get on my live stream right now and start talking? Absolutely. But you know what I have is this handy little button called ban, and I can immediately kick them out of my live stream. So I don't have to worry about that. So that limit, and I knew that. But it was a limiting belief. We all have them. We all deal with them. And here's the thing I want you to know. Once you deal with a limiting belief, you're going to move to another level. And guess what? You're going to have some more limiting beliefs that are going to come in at that point because you're now on this new level. You have to get comfortable handling limiting beliefs. You have to, and this is one way that I do it, is I write out what the limiting belief is. And then I think about what's the likelihood that that's going to happen. Okay. And then the second thing I do is I figure out, okay, what are my options if it were to happen? Another thing I do is I say to myself, and this is something I've posted multiple times on my post page on YouTube, which is your limiting beliefs are going to have you in the same place next year as you are right now. Are you okay with that? And for me, I had to finally say, no, I'm not. And so you have to be okay with you have to decide whether or not you're going to be okay with it. And you also have to ask yourself this, has anyone else ever done what it is I want to do, but I'm afraid to do? And I can most assuredly tell you the answer is yes, they have. And 9 times out of 10, those people did it and they were fearful. There's a book out there called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And that's what you have to do. And then what happens is after you do it the first time is going to be rough. You're probably going to be sweating and uncomfortable and not sure. But the next time it'll be less uncomfortable. And the next time after that, less uncomfortable. Okay. So our limiting beliefs are almost never really based in fear. They're based in fear, but they're never really based in a reality that we can't really deal with. So just kind of think that through. The second thing is that negative voice. Do you realize that when we are talking to ourselves, 80% of the conversations we have with ourselves are negative? It's just the truth. And it's like we just get into the habit of hearing this chatter, that voice that's going, "Oh, you'll never be able to do it. Other people can be successful with that, but you can't." There's all sorts of reasons why. You don't have the right education, you don't have the right tools, you don't have the right whatever. You've got to learn to silence the negative voice, and you have to learn to replace it. Okay. I actually attended years ago, it was an Anthony Robbins seminar, Tony Robbins. Some of you probably know him. And one of the things he talked about was how you have to stop that. So I'm going to give you just a strategy that he gave us during this training, which was once you recognize the negative thought, you've got to immediately stop it. And here's what you do. You just say cancel. You take a second, you breathe it through, and you immediately replace it with a positive thought. Now, I know that sounds super simple, and you're like, I don't know if that's going to work. Try it. And the reason why it works is because you cannot hold two thoughts simultaneously. You just can't. It's not possible to think about two things at the exact same time. So once you cancel the negative thought and you immediately replace it with a positive thought, things just start happening. And the more that you start recognizing that negative voice early and stopping it, the better off you're going to be. Okay. So that's another thing. The other thing I would encourage you to do is to make sure that when you are, riding around or sometime when you're getting ready, whatever it is, listen to something that's going to help you develop personally. Personal development is going to be one of the best things that you can do for yourself. And then just stop those negative thoughts before they have a chance to actually plant themselves. Because once they plant themselves, you got to do a whole lot more work to start getting rid of them. And I don't want you to actually have to do that. But don't think that once you deal with it one time, you're completely done with it. That is not how it works. So I hope this information has been helpful to you. I'm again going to link above all of the playlists to all of my live trainings, and I'm also going to add below some of the other things that I think might be helpful video-wise. And remember, check out the links below for any business tools that might be helpful for you as well. So with that being the case, I want to say thank you for being on. Next week in the U.S. anyway, if you're watching this live, is Thanksgiving. So I'm actually going to be spending a lot of time with family again. So I will not be in this chair next week, Wednesday, but you can rest assured the following Wednesday I will be. So thank you for joining me. And, I wish you all the best. I know you can do this, and I know you will do it because you're serious about building your business. So have an awesome day and an even better week, and I will see you in 2 weeks. All right, take care. Bye.